Hiya! Okay, so we're on to, again, still on key area 3 of unit 2. This is section 2 of reproduction, which is about plant reproduction. Super short, super quick. We'll make it very quick.
Okay, so in this video we're going to learn about the different structures involved in reproduction in plants and where these gametes are produced.
So you've got to name the male and female gametes in plants, you've got to state where the gametes are produced in plants, state the site of fertilisation, and give a definition of fertilisation in plants, some of which we'll be using the language from the previous video on animals. So if you haven't watched that one yet, we recommend you go back, have a look at haploid, diploid gametes, what all that means.
Okay, so in terms of the male gamete in plants, the male gamete is something you've probably heard of. It is known as pollen. But technically pollen isn't really the gamete itself, it's the gamete is in pollen, so pollen is and isn't the male gamete. Pollen contains the male gamete. It's basically a little ball that inside it you find the male gamete. So we would say pollen contains the male gamete in plants, and it is produced by a structure called the anther, which you can see labelled in the diagram.
Okay, the ovule is the female gamete that is inside plants. You can see it labelled there on the diagram. It is produced in the ovary. Now, it's the same as in animals, so just like in animals, is we've got the female gamete being produced in the ovary, but in addition, the ovary also has an extra function which is different to animals. It is also the site of fertilisation. So where the male and female gamete are going to fuse, that is in the ovary. The stigma, labelled at the top there, that is where pollen is going to be collected, and that is where pollen is going to land, and then the male gamete is going to dig itself a little hole through to the ovary so that it can fertilise those ovules.
Which I think this gift shows quite nicely. So, fertilisation in plants, very, very similar to what it is in animals, just taking that original fertilisation definition and adding the plant words to it now. So fertilisation is the fusion of the pollen nucleus and an ovule nucleus to produce a diploid zygote, which will divide to produce an embryo. So almost identical to that in humans, but it says pollen instead of sperm and ovule instead of egg. And this gift shows quite nicely. Pollen lands on the top, it goes down the stigma and basically reaches the ovary.
And that's it.
That's
that
it.
easy.
That's plants.
Okay, so the
Sorted.
male gamete is going to be contained inside pollen, the female gamete is going to be contained inside the ovule.
Oh, sorry, I didn't realise we were doing. The male gamete is produced in the anther, the female gamete is produced in the ovary.
The site of fertilisation in plants is the ovary this time round.
And for a definition of fertilisation, it is the fusion of a pollen nuclei and an ovule nuclei to produce a diploid zygote. Wow.
Right, so that is us done with key area 3. Really short and sweet. The next one is it variation inheritance?
Yeah.
It feels like variation and inheritance.
Yeah,
so we're going to use some of that knowledge about diploid in order to work out how our characteristics passed on to offspring. So we'll see you then.